Good afternoon, Patricia.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I'm Cynthia. Let me start with music. Do you like listening to songs?
Absolutely, yes. I like to listen to music of all genre, and my particular fascination is for music which is melodious.
Have you ever been to a musical performance or concert?
Not really, but recently I did go to a music festival. It was not really a rock concert or so, but it just was a musical show, and I absolutely enjoyed myself.
Have you ever learned to play a musical instrument?
Yes, I tried my hand at playing the guitar. Of course, I did not follow it through, but I can still hold a chord and play music, yes.
Is music an important subject at school in your country?
Not until recently, but now I think it's really catching on, and children have the opportunity at school. In fact, my son learns, he plays the guitar at school, and they have some amazing teachers who have instilled that desire to learn music.
Did you often listen to music when you were a child?
Yes, much to the annoyance of my mother, I did listen to a lot of metal and hip hop bands. She was always behind me, breathing down my neck and insisting that I do not listen to such, in her own terminology, such bad music which might make me go wayward.
Do you like listening to music at work?
Yes, something that is soothing and melodious it's pretty good, but I don't think one should really be too focused on that, especially when you're into some really serious work. I don't think people should do it, but then I also know that there are some people, especially my husband, likes to really listen to music when he's trying to concentrate hard. It just does not work the same way for me.
Do people prefer to buy CDs or download music online?
Well, purchasing a CD involves cost, so I think people are more into downloading music, especially the pirated versions of it. And I think that is what has been the bane of the music industry, particularly in India these days.
What kinds of music are most popular in your country?
Anything that is released from a movie, particularly once there is a lot of star power in the movie, or if it's an actor whom they really like and adore, I think such is the music that the youngsters particularly like to listen to.
When did you start listening to that type of music?
Well, I for one have never had a passion for watching movies, so the cinema music is not something that I like. I listen to a lot of English albums, and those numbers are something that I really like. In fact, Nick Jonas is one of my favorite singers.
How much time do you spend listening to music every day?
Almost 2 or 3 hours in a day. As I'm traveling back and forth to work, as I'm driving, there's usually something playing in the car.
How do you feel when you listen to it?
I feel good. I feel really good. It creates a spring in my step, puts a smile on my face, especially if there are songs that I really like.
Now we are moving on to friends. Are friends more important than family?
Definitely not. Any day I would choose friends over family. In fact, blood is thicker than family over friends, because blood is thicker than water.
How do people in your country make friends?
I think making friends all begins with a smile. People look for like-minded individuals with whom they can actually get along. But I personally have friends who are where we are poles apart in terms of personality. We're as different as chalk and cheese, but we just get along very well, like a house on fire.
Do adults and children make friends in the same way?
Well, I think adults are a little judgmental when it comes to making friends. They look for certain things like class and standard and sophistication and money and all things. But I think children are far more innocent. They're just happy to be with anybody who would accept them.
Do you prefer one friend or many friends?
Well, I'm not usually the kind of person who has a gang of friends, but I do have a few very close friends, and I can honestly say that we've been friends for life.
Do you have any close friends who live abroad?
Yes, my friend Raj lives abroad, and he calls me at least once in a month, and we catch up. And when I travel to the US, he's the person who usually hosts me.
Are you still friends with your friends from childhood?
A few of them, yes. We don't meet up often, but occasionally when we are in the same city or so, we catch up over a cup of coffee and we reminisce about the past. That's something that I really enjoy.
What do you value about your friends?
their honesty. They don't hesitate to call a spade a spade. If I'm doing a mistake, they just say so on my face. It's the brutality with which they are honest that is something that I really like about them.
What kind of friend do you want to meet in the future?
Well, I have made all the friends that I'd like to make, so there's no particular, knight in shining armor kind of a friend that I'm looking forward to. No.
Do you prefer to spend time with your friends or alone?
I'm a person who gives a lot of importance to me time. So while I'd like to hang out with my friends, I don't like my day to be, completely taken over by hosting people or, hanging out with them. I value my time alone.
Now it's about holidays. Can you describe your perfect holiday?
Well, the perfect holiday would be the place where I would probably go away somewhere deep into the mountains, a place of picturesque beauty with a lot of rustic charm, and definitely a place that serves the most sumptuous buffets.
Which do you prefer? To spend time on a beach or have excursions in a city?
I'm a shopaholic, so spending time at the beach is all great, but then excursions in the city would mean that I get to burn a hole in my husband's pocket and I can shop till I drop. So that's what I would choose.
What was the best holiday in your life?
I recently took a trip to Munnar, and I absolutely adored the surroundings, the experience, the food, the people, the culture. That was an amazing and an enthralling experience.
Now about haircutting. How often do you have a haircut?
Well, at least that depends on the pace at which my hair grows, and unfortunately, after the age of 30, it's not really growing at that great a length. So, I guess once in a couple of months or so.
Do you like going to hairdressers?
Of course, yes. In fact, I pay them a fortune to cut my hair, and I would really go mad if they did not do a great job.
Have you had a haircut that you didn't like?
Yes, it happened recently when I had a haircut with a hairdresser, with a top stylist at Tony and Guy. I gave him a mouthful. I was very angry that it did not come out in the way that I had intended for it to come out. But eventually, I learned to make peace with myself.
Do you want to change your hair color?
Honestly, as long as it is not grey, I'm just happy with whatever color that I have, and I think it's a very personal decision, and I don't think coloring my hair would look great, would not really complement my skin tone. Not that I'm not bold enough to do it.
Now, Patricia, this is part 2, the cue card. Describe a place where it was easy for you to read and write. Not your home. Where it was, when you went there, what you studied there, who you went with, why you like to read and write there. I give 1 minute time for you to prepare, and then you can speak on.
Well, it's pretty interesting that you've asked me to speak about this, because I'm a person who's really fond of books. Books are my entire world. I'm a voracious reader. I've been in contact with, or in the company. I've grown up in the company of people who have been book lovers, particularly my principal from high school, Mr. Bernard. He was the one who inculcated the love of books in me. And recently, I discovered that I have a flair for writing as well. My idea. My intention was to write a book about a cause that I'm very passionate about. So I've been putting it off because the hustle and bustle of everyday life has been really getting to me, that I could not really set apart time to write. So the first thing that I did was I spoke about it to my husband, and he decided to take me out on a vacation, a long one, for almost a fortnight. So we booked the flight tickets and we took off to the wonderful valley of Kashmir, just my husband and myself. And to give you a little bit of my life, I have an amazing mother who agreed to happily babysit my 12-year-old, so he does not have to miss school. So my husband Paul and I, we set off to Kashmir, and those 10 days in the valley was just the perfect setting for me to sit down and pen down my thoughts and my ideas. It worked so well that everybody fears the writer's block when you begin to write But then my spouse was, with me. He just gave me the perfect space, and it just kept my creative juices going, that I was able to write and write and write away to glory. And I was, in fact, I also had time to edit what I've written. And I came, and when I returned, I just came with a final a transcript. The book is right now in the editing stage, and hopefully I will publish it soon. But then just giving me a break from the monotony of everyday life, and just allowing me to just sit back and relax and think about it, basically placing me in this beautiful valley in Kashmir. Of course, there was a lot of political tension around, but then the resort that I was bunking in was an amazing place with great food. There was no familial responsibilities. I didn't have to cook. I didn't have to serve somebody. Everything was served to me on a platter. So that exactly was, for me, the perfect setting, and it worked out really well.
Now, part 3, the detailed discussion. When do children start learning to read and write in your country?
As early as they are 2.5 years of age, children are being sent to school. So that is the time that when they begin to learn their first alphabets, begin to read and write.
Who should teach children to read and write, parents or teachers at school?
While it's easier for the parents to throw the onus on the teachers, I think it very much rests on the involvement of the parent in teaching a child.
Do you think it is more difficult to learn to read and write when you're a child or when you are an adult?
Children have a flair for languages. They are natural linguists. They can pick up any number of languages when they're young. The difficulty is when a person becomes an adult.
Is it better to read and write at home or in a public place?
That depends on the kind of person you are. Some people really find themselves to be more creative, and they garner a lot of ideas when they're outside, while others prefer the serene environment at home.
Where can people read and write?
They can write in libraries, they can write in parks, they can write almost in any place. You can even write when you're traveling.
Is it important to read and write in a quiet place?
Not necessarily so. It absolutely depends on the personality of the person who would like to read or write.
Now the final question. Nowadays, which is more important, to be a good reader or writer?
Not everybody can become great writers, but anybody can become a good reader, and reading is a habit that has to be inculcated. It is a habit that has to be encouraged and taken up. Writing requires a very specific set of skills, and not everybody can become great writers.
Thank you, Patricia. Have a great day. You also have a good day.